Hello, hello. A little bit early. Welcome to our final week of Move with Love. I'm just gonna, amazing, perfect. I'm so happy to have you here. If you are joining live or you have perhaps been doing this series at your own pace, I just want to thank you for taking the time to join me, to be a part of. I'm just going to awkwardly move that out of the way. Being a part of this series, which is as authentic and real as that moment just was, I think it has really given me an opportunity to check in with myself. It has hopefully given you an opportunity to just be a little bit more present in your physical body, in your energy, and to understand a little bit about how just taking time to physically, mentally, energetically check in can completely transform how you think, feel, and act. This evening's class is going to be a nice little sort of round off of the 4 weeks, and it's going to be really, really, really chilled. So this will sort of take into account all of the things that we've done over the last 4 weeks, but it will also give us an opportunity to move at a much slower pace, to really hone in on that ability to just sit with whatever's coming up and to be really deeply appreciative of what our bodies are capable of, and try to not attach too much to what we think we're not capable of. So I invite you to grab a hold of a block again or a book, and you'll need one of them. You could even use like a rolled up towel or blanket if need be. I also have a bolster, a yoga bolster. It's not necessarily needed. You could use a bed pillow or, again, that rolled up blanket or towel if you need. But I mean, just use whatever you've got handy. I do suggest you have some bits around you, whether it's pillows or blocks or books or anything. So take your time to get a hold of them. I'm going to take a little seat on my block and I'm going to sit on my knees, but you could always sit cross-legged or even on a chair for this first part of the class. And we're going to just check in with our upper bodies, our spine. And I want to encourage you to get your head, your shoulders, and your pelvis stacked on top of each other. And so you'll feel this sort of threading up from the tailbone to the crown of the head. And just notice whether your chin is kind of protruding up and forward, whether your shoulders are a little bit slumped or you've got your tailbone tucked under or pulled forward. And just see if you can kind of almost imagine trying to bring all of those pieces into a nice tall line without sitting poker straight. So we just want a natural S curve of our spine. And now I'll invite you to bring your thumbs together in a hook and reach your arms up overhead. So we're going to reach all the way up overhead, shoulders towards your ears, and you can sort of spirit finger the four fingers of each hand. And now let your ribs flare and your back arch. So send your fingertips behind you. You might even let your chin lift up to the ceiling. And there's this big stretch to the front of the belly. Now, as you unhook your thumb, start to round your spine, cross your right arm underneath your left, give yourself a cuddle, and then pull elbows, chin, forehead towards your belly button. Okay, and then as we unravel that, arms will reach up overhead, hook your thumbs, send your belly forward, arch your back, big opening, and then opposite arms. So now your left arm will wrap underneath your right, tuck your chin in, elbows in, round everything forward. 2 more times like that. So just start to sort of build that pace as you reach up and overhead. Stretching the fingers away from you. Maybe you've got a bit more space, and then wrap right arm under left. Give yourself a cuddle. You'll get this big opening through the back of the neck one last time. Fingertips to the ceiling. Hook your thumbs, send your belly button forward. Big chest opener. And then left arm under right. Give yourself a cuddle. And just hold here, maybe shimmy shake a couple of times. Let the back of the neck open up. As you begin to unravel the arms, bring your hands behind your head like you're about to lie in a hammock, elbows nice and wide. Draw your shoulder blades together so you'll get this squeezing sensation between the shoulder blades, as if you're trying to maybe catch a pencil with your shoulders and tense up your back. Get that feeling, but then let your chin lift to the ceiling and your head falls back into your hands. You'll get this big opening through the front of the chest as well. Then elbows together, tuck your chin in. So just like what we did when we gave ourselves a cuddle, but now push the back of your head into your hands. And then there's this gentle resistance of the hands into the head. And oh my goodness, you feel that in the back of your neck. Now shimmy shake your chin to one armpit. And then back through center. And then over to the other one. Okay, one more time over to one side. And then to the other side. So really gentle, doesn't need to be forceful. One more time, just over to the left. And then over to your right. Oh, my back of my neck is really tight there. Bring yourself back through center. Let your shoulders shimmy, shake, shimmy, shake, shimmy, shake. Really nice. We're going to come into a child's pose. So just pop your block to the side. Knees wide, toes together. Sit your bum back towards your heels. You could always bring a block or a towel underneath your bum, and then reach your fingertips as far forward as you can so that your belly button and your ribs can drop in between your thighs. You'll stick your bum back and then chin to ceiling, just like we did when we were seated. So there's this arch through the lower back. Then round your chin towards your pubic bone and pull everything in. 2 more times like that. So inhale, belly down, chest pulls forward, tailbone lifts, exhale round. You might even lift your bum away from your heels a couple of times. One more time. Big inhale. Exhale round. As you round, start to lift your bum away from your heels, and then almost like you're trying to get like this big angry cat back. Pull your hip bones towards your thumbs. Then sit your bum back again. Arch your back, chin to ceiling. Last time, we're going to start to scoop forward. The more you scoop forward, once you can't go any further, bring your hands back down and then scoot yourself down however you need to onto your belly button. Fingertips nice and wide off of your mat. Elbows lift to the ceiling. Keep your forehead on the ground. Push your hip bones into the floor. Push the tops of your feet into the floor. Get that same feeling of drawing the shoulder blades together. So imagine you're trying to squeeze a pencil and tense up your upper back muscles. Then push into the floor, lift your chest. Now look towards your right thumb and then dip your left shoulder to the floor. You'll get this big hello in the front of the shoulder. Don't need to touch the floor. Then push yourself back up off the ground. And then right shoulder dips as you look towards your left thumb. One more time each side, so push the ground away. Left shoulder to floor, look towards right thumb. Back through center, look towards left thumb, dip your right shoulder. Really nice. Lift your head and shoulders, lower everything to the ground. We're going to come onto our back, so just flip yourself around. Grab your block. The block is going to go underneath your pelvis, so bring it underneath the hip bones. Just make sure that you're nice and comfy there. Your bum will hang off of it very likely. Make sure there's this feeling of secureness so that you'll almost get this sort of spreading sensation. So the back of your pelvis is actually like a joint of muscles. So it's not necessarily a joint, but it's movable. So it's kind of flexible. And you might feel this sort of like opening and spreading through the front line, and you'll get space for your hands to come inside of your hip bones. And then I want you to just gently rub your belly. Okay, so feet are planted on the ground. Start to caress the front of your belly. I really like to kind of swipe side to side or in a clockwise direction. So starting from right hip bone up towards belly button, down towards left hip bone across the front of the pubic bone and then across that way. So that kind of mimics how our digestive system works, which is really nice. If you do tend to have any kind of digestive issues, you can do this gentle massage. So our colon goes up along the right, along the front of the body, and then down to the left, where things are eliminated. So just a couple more like that. Don't worry if your belly starts to make some fun noises. We're just creating this sensation of awareness of this area of our body. You can just move around. Hands can maybe come around towards the glutes or along the front of the hip flexors if they feel quite tight, maybe up towards the diaphragm and the ribs if you're comfortable to. Again, maybe use skin on skin or hands underneath your shirt or just underneath your leggings, along the back of your lower ribs. Maybe feel things starting to soften up. And then when you feel a little bit warmer and more connected to the trunk, bring your hands either onto your rib cage, or you're very welcome to bring them onto the floor. Right knee will begin to stack over your right hip. So we're in this 90-degree angle. We've done this before. Right foot is going to swing towards the right. Feel free to use this right hand as a little break, and then left hand just keeps your rib cage connected to your body, and we're in internal rotation. Then foot swings all the way over to the left. You'll see your inner thigh spiral towards your face, and you're in external rotation. 2 more times like that. Right foot to right. Really work for that internal rotation. Get that little pinch on the hip. Bring it over to left. 1, 2 more. Over to right. And then left. Right. Work for that internal rotation. Then swing it over to the left into your external. Hook your right ankle over your thumb. Hook your right ankle over your thigh. Either stay here, or if you've got the ability to do this right at the start of the class, pull your knees into your chest and maybe grab onto this knee. If for any reason the block or the book or the towel feels too much underneath your hips, just move it. But I really like this feeling of that kind of, I think we did it last week, where you get that feeling of that elbow in your lower back space. Kind of rock and roll a little bit. It feels like a really nice massage. Well, a bit of a funky massage. Okay. When you've had enough, bring your foot back down. Unhook right ankle. Lift your hip bones away from the floor so you come into a low bridge so that you can scoot the block out of the way. And then lower your pelvis all the way to the floor. Knees will drop over to your left. Arms reach up overhead, hook your thumbs, but then shimmy your upper body over to the right. So you're in this sort of crescent moon again, C shape with your upper body, and your knees are dropping over to the other side. Big deep breath. You can use your hands on your ribs again, maybe create more space along the underside of the ribs and the diaphragm. Make loads of room for your breath, working that right knee down towards the floor. Big stretch to the front of the hip flexor and the quad. I actually have like this pillow up overhead that I can touch. If there's like a wall up above you, it actually would be nice to push some resistance, and you get this big like opening and feeling like you're sort of stretching the underside of your left armpit. Okay, bring your knees back through center. Shimmy, shake your upper body back through center. Keep rolling all the way over into your left until you come up onto your left forearm. Grab your block, rolled up towel or book. This is quite confronting. If you, like me, have a cork block, feel free to roll up. Maybe I actually will do this. I'm going to grab my cardigan and I'm going to put the cardigan over it so that it's a bit softer. Very make do there. So I'm going to pop the cardigan down so that I can lie myself over the block. So my rib cage lies on it. It's very funky. Knees can be together. You can stagger your legs if need be. Then this underside arm reaches towards the top of my mat, and I'm just going to let my spine C-curve over. Top arm might reach up and overhead. You can maybe grab onto that right wrist and pull. I like to straighten my right leg. And then you can do these sort of little side to side rolls. This is quite nice, even just on a towel. If you felt particularly stuck in your upper back or your side waist, this is so delicious. I have like quite tender shoulders sometimes, and oh, oh my gosh, I think I'm enjoying this too much. Right, couple more little rock and rolls side to side. Oh, right underneath that shoulder blade. Right, prop yourself back up. Come up off of that block. Oh, that felt nice, didn't it? Remove the block from out underneath you. Stay on your left hip. Come down onto your left forearm. Then this right knee can be on the floor. This left shin is forward. And then this right arm is going to thread underneath so that both forearms are stacked. And then I want you to round your upper back towards the ceiling, scoop your belly up, and then push down through the forearms. Oh, feel the shoulder blades spread really nice and wide. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, bring yourself back up and come back up onto our hands and knees in your wide-legged child's pose. So set yourself up again so that your fingertips are forward, your bum sits back, chin protrudes towards the ceiling. Then as you round forward, we're lifting our bum away from our heels and scooping everything forward. So think sending your pelvis toward your thumbs, squeeze your butt cheeks, then send your bum back. Open up through the front line and then exhale round. One more time like that. Inhale, send everything back. And then round your spine. Then make your way onto your belly. So you might walk your hands forward, bend your elbows, lower down. Clip into the tops of the feet. Push your hip bones into the floor. Fingertips nice and wide. Push your shoulder blades together. So get that feeling of scooping the heads of the shoulders away from the floor. Then lift your chest. Right shoulder dips down as you look towards your left thumb. Might get a bit more space this time. Left shoulder dips down, look towards your right. One more time each side. So over to your left. And then over to your right. Really nice. When you bring yourself back up, lower everything to the floor and then flip yourself around again. So we can do all of that on the other side. So I'm going to grab my block. Block is going to come underneath the pelvis. Get that feeling of spreading through the front line. We won't do that same connection, the amount of time doing the front body connection, but take a second to just reconnect with your belly and your breath. Feel your back supported by the block and the earth. Remember, you don't have to have the block underneath you. I just quite like it for sort of making space around the lower back by opening this front line. There's something really supportive and like almost recalibrating about that, which I quite like. I'm going to bring my left knee over my left hip. Hand to the outside of the knee, and let's do those internal, external rotations. So your foot swings out to the left, and then bring it all the way over your right thigh into external rotation. Okay, 2 more times. So foot swings all the way over to the left. Really work for that internal rotation. Inner thigh spirals forward. And then back over to the right. One last time over to left. Big, big rotation. And then over to right. Hook your left ankle over your right thumb. And then start to bring your knees in towards your chest. Maybe you rock and roll a little bit side to side. Give your lower back a wee massage. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? And I love these classes where we stay really close to the earth because it just gives me this real deep grounding sensation. I almost feel like my brain is kind of a little bit, I don't know, gets permission to be a bit quieter. Okay, both feet to the floor. You're going to drop your knees over to the right. Remove the block from underneath your bum and then hook your thumbs overhead, then side bend your body over to left. And you can even grab onto that right wrist with your left hand and pull a little bit more, that spreading sensation. Or if there is a wall above you, you might be able to push your hand in. Left hand could always release and open up through the sideline. Okay, you're going to roll yourself all the way back over onto your right side. I'm just going to flip around so that you can see me. So pop this cardigan again over just to cushion my block. Right rib cage will land, so I'm going to stagger my knees so that my right shin is forward, left knee is on the floor. Just find whatever position works best for you. Right arm reaches away from me, rib cage down. You can support your head if you need to with your hand, and then once you get a little bit, you just have to find this little nook underneath the shoulder blade, and then let your weight just kind of lie, and then you can sort of shimmy shake, look towards the ceiling, and then look down. Oh, I don't think this will ever get easy, but I almost feel like when I do stuff like this, I've like grown a couple of inches. It's almost like you've kind of undone what gravity does during the day and kind of stretched yourself out. And if, like me, you spend a Sunday pretty immobile or like just love a Sunday to do very little, then this can feel really good. Right, bring yourself back up. I think I've gotten too comfortable. I've even got like my little, sorry, this mic is a bit of a nightmare today. I've even got my little socks on. So I feel like I've gotten really cozy. Right, what we'll do now is you'll bring your right forearm down onto the floor. Rib cage is you're not slumping into the shoulder, you're pushing the shoulder away. Then left arm threads underneath. Oh, I got a big crack there. That was really nice in my upper back. And that's really good. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And you can always push the left foot away, maybe even reach your left fingertips away from you. Breathe big, round your upper back up to the ceiling. And nice. Okay, then bring yourself back so that you can come back into your tabletop position. This time, knees underneath hips, hands underneath shoulders. Right arm will reach a few inches forward. So you're in this diagonal shape. You can even be on your fingertips if you would like. Then left hand to the back of your skull. Begin to rotate your elbow to ceiling, your chest towards the left. Then up to you, if you've got the range, you can reach your fingertips away so you straighten your arm. Thread the needle left arm underneath your right. Let your right elbow bend. Bring the left shoulder, left ear to the floor. Right fingertips are always welcome to walk away from you, and you can kind of peer underneath your right armpit, look towards your right hip bone. I like to shift my weight a little bit over onto my left knee more, and I get a really big shoulder stretch, chin in towards your chest. Big breaths. Return right hand if you moved it forward. Unravel yourself so that your left arm wraps back up to the ceiling. Then walk the left fingertips a few inches forward. Support yourself so you can step your left foot forward. Grab your block again or your book. Hands onto it inside of your left foot. Widen that left foot, even turn the toes out if you need to. Sit your bum back towards your back heel and start to peel the left toes off of the mat. So you come into this little half splits. Then rock and plunge the hips forward towards the block. You can go as deep as you would like. This is a much more kind of like yin-y, it's not yin, but is much more chilled and like stretchy class. So I don't mind if you kind of really have the range. Just be mindful of anything going on in the lower back or in the pelvis, especially if you have just had a baby or if you are pregnant. Just maybe limit the range. I would only come so far rather than sinking all the way in. Okay, one more little rock back. And then I want you to rock all the way forward. But instead of coming all the way down, I want you to spin your right heel so that it goes towards the left side of your mat. Left forearm onto your left thigh, and then open yourself up into this sort of kneeling warrior 2 position. Forearm on thigh. Right arm spirals up and forward so that you side bend over your left leg. Now lunge into this left leg. Again, if you are very, very mobile in your adductors or your pelvis, or you've experienced any kind of pelvic pain, then maybe just don't go so far. You don't need this arm up overhead. And then you can lunge back and then maybe bring this arm down. So a couple of times, just maybe swim the arm forward as you lean over the toes. Try and keep the heel down and then bring yourself back in. One more time. Lunge it forward and then bring it back. Both hands to the front of the mat. Step your right foot to meet your left. Forward fold. Shake your head out a couple of times. Take your time. Maybe you have your hands on a block. Knees are really nice and soft. You can even interlace your hands around the back of the skull. Press the head into the hands, or maybe hands around your forearms or elbows. Open up into that back line. Shimmy, shimmy, shake. And then hands to shins, halfway lift. Crown of head goes forward. Walk your hands all the way up your thighs till you stand all the way up. Arms reach up overhead. Hook your thumbs, let your back bend. Soften your knees, stick your bum out. Then right arm under left, give yourself a cuddle and round in. So curl in through your spine. One more time, arms reach. Send your bum back. You can make it nice and dramatic. And then left arm wraps underneath right. Keep your cuddle and round all the way over your legs so that your head comes towards your feet, fingertips to floor. From your forward fold, step both of your feet back, but knees automatically go to the floor, tabletop position. Let's repeat that. So left arm on a diagonal, right hand right underneath your right shoulder. Push into left hand as you reach your right fingertips to ceiling. Open up and twist. You might have your hand behind your head. Then right arm underneath left, thread the needle. Right shoulder, right ear, and push down into that right shoulder and hand. Maybe reach your left fingertips forward. Feel free to sort of shift the weight a little bit more into your right shoulder and knee, tucking the chin more in towards the chest so that you get that feeling of length through the back of the neck. Left hand returns, unravel yourself, right fingertips to the ceiling. Really nice. And then as both hands land, step your right foot forward into your lunge. Grab a hold of your block, bring it underneath your chest. Left knee is positioned underneath you, but send your bum back in space as you start to peel the right toes off the floor. It's not about getting a poker straight right leg. Then hips start to work towards the block, but I want you to try and keep this right heel on the ground. So a couple more times, we'll just rock backwards and then plunge the hips forward. Feel free to support the knee as much as you need to. 2 more. Rock it forward. And then walk it back. When you rock forward, don't go quite as deep so that you can spin your left toes behind you. Come into your warrior 2 kneeling position. Right forearm onto that right thigh, and then send your left fingertips forward in space. Open up through your left rib cage, and then lunge into your right foot. So you get this deep lunge, knee over toes, and then rock it back. You can let that left arm relax down. 2 more. Rock it forward. Let your head move with you. So maybe just let the neck relax. Last time. Bring it back. Little change here. You're going to sit back on this left heel. I'm going to turn myself around. So your heel is in at your groin. Your right leg will be open. So the right leg is extended, left heel in towards your groin. Grab your block. We did this last week. Right forearm onto the block. Maybe it's up nice and high, and it might be right elbow. You can bring your forearm down, or maybe your fingertips are inside of your right thigh. Side bend over your straightened leg. Bring your hand behind your head and then look towards the ceiling. Open the chest and round, chin and elbow towards the floor. 2 more times. Inhale. Lean everything back. And then round in. Last one. Inhale. Lean back. And then round everything in. Bring head and shoulders back up on top of your pelvis. This right leg will bend so that we come into a double pigeon or a fire log. So first option is to stack your shins on top of each other. So your right knee is over your left foot and your right foot is on your knee. Now that is an anatomical nightmare for some of us. So just bring the right shin in forward. If it's needed, tuck your right heel in and don't worry too much about the legs both being externally rotated. But whatever your option is, and if this knee is quite high up and it still feels okay, but it's just a little bit far away from the floor, use a block or a pillow or something underneath that knee just to give you a little bit of cushioning so it's not kind of floating around. But if it feels all right, then that's absolutely fine. block can always go out in front of you. I'm going to get you to start to walk your fingertips forward so that we come into a forward fold. I like to bring my elbows onto the block, let my head drop, maybe even bring my hands into like a little prayer position and rest the forehead onto the thumbs. And you'll get this big opening through the glutes, the piriformis, the outside of the hips. Can feel really nice. And I like this resistance of my head on something, whether it's a block or, you can stack up your pillows. There is always an option, maybe if you have a bolster or something, you could bring that out in front of you and lie over that. But we're just going to chill here for a couple of breaths and allow ourselves to really settle into the physicality of the posture, but also reconnect to ourselves through our breath, through our awareness of ourselves in space. And a lot of that sort of tactile stuff that I talk about, so when we use physical touch, or the connection of the back of the hand to the head, or the floor to the body, or the way that we kind of rub our hands around our limbs or our belly, it's all about this, it's called proprioception, but it's this ability to understand where we are in space, how we're holding ourselves in space, because so often we use techniques that we've learned to keep us feeling safe, whether it be flaring our ribs, overtly back bending or tucking, and sticking your chin out because you've been, kind of staring at screens all day. And these things over time, because we are stuck in them, can cause problems. It's not the position themselves, because we do them here. I get you to bend your neck and your back and put yourself in different positions, but because we're moving through it and our body knows that there's a central point we want to kind of stay in, and then these extremes are available to us, it can potentially through time cause a little bit less pain when we learn to kind of control the extremes and just access them at times rather than being stuck in them. Okay, one more big breath. Start to bring yourself back up. Remove any props out of the way. Bring your fingertips behind you, soles of feet to the floor, and just windshield wiper your knees side to side. We'll go for the other side. So your right heel will be in, your left leg will extend out wide. So heel in towards ground, left leg as wide as it needs to be. Any kind of prop that you want just for your elbow to rest on the inside of the left leg. You can rest your head always on your hand. And then this right arm extends up overhead. Then maybe you catch the back of your skull and get that feeling again of knowing where your head and your neck are sitting. We don't necessarily want the neck to be flat. We don't necessarily want the neck to be too curved, or like excessively in lordosis. We want this happy medium. So in order to do that, we just train the neck to flatten a little bit at times to make us aware that these positions are available. And then just begin to sort of rinse your face to the ceiling. As you round in, you get that feeling of opening through the back line. And just sort of play with those two really gorgeous, again, extremes. And deep stretch to help you sort of know where your sort of middle ground might lie. And when you bring yourself all the way back up, it's the left shin that will come forward. So either left shin in front of right in a more cross-legged position, or it's the left shin stacks on top of the right. Maybe there's a block under there. You can bring your block out in front of you and just start to walk your hands out. Again, we'll rest here for a little bit, just allowing ourselves to deeply connect with how that now left hip feels compared to the right one. And if you are someone that has a profession where you kind of stand a lot all day, or even if you have children and you hold a baby on one hip, or you tend to sort of dip one hip quite a lot. I know I do it all the time. I stand on my feet like 9 hours a day. There's this tendency to have one side that is potentially a little bit more tender than the other, and that's completely normal. It's completely human, and no one should be completely symmetrical. So don't be alarmed if one side feels a little bit more sensitive than the other one. Just go to the point where it feels appropriate on each side. You don't need to be doing the exact same thing that you did on the other side. It won't leave you uneven. So see if you can bring your heart rate down, lengthen the breath. Give yourself this permission to maybe unclench something. You feel like you're holding a little bit. Okay, one more big breath. Full long exhalation. Begin to bring yourself back up. Your fingertips will be behind you, soles of feet on the floor. And then just windshield wipe your knees side to side. Just kind of rinse that out. Let the knees work towards the floor. Kind of roll onto one butt cheek and then the other. Now I'll set you up for thread the needle again. I'm going to use my bolster, so you could use a big pillow here if you've got one. I also am going to pop my block out in front, but just use whatever you've got. We'll bring both hands either side of, so the other side of the bolster, and then your left arm is going to reach the ceiling, and then thread your arm underneath your right so that your left shoulder and forearm and upper arm land onto the bolster or the pillow, and then your head can then rest on maybe your block. Interlace both your hands together and then push with your top hand into your bottom hand. Tuck your chin in. I quite like widening my knees, sticking my bum out a little bit. So then I really get into that left underarm, shoulder blade, back of my neck. You'll get this radiation down your left arm as well, which is nice. And we'll just hang out here for a little bit, noticing perhaps that one shoulder is still feeling a little bit sticky. You've got quite a sensitive side. Maybe the back of the neck needs a bit more love. That was me yawning. Maybe you'll let out a yawn. It means your body's kind of calm and relaxed, hopefully. I think I blasted my heating as well, so I'm really warm and cozy, which is nice. And then we'll return the right hand to the floor so that you can unravel yourself. Bring both hands either onto the bolster or the block. Just remove your block and then step your left foot forward so that your right knee is underneath you, but your left foot is forward of the bolster or your pillow, whatever you've got. And then both hands come inside onto that block again. So very similar to what we did before. We're going to do these little rocks and rolls and just begin to sort of assess how that inner linings of the legs and the back of the hamstring is feeling. Oh, nice. And then when you bring your hips forward this time, your hips might land on your bolster, might not quite, but I want you to use that bolster just as an option to land your hips on, or just know that we don't really want the hips any lower than that. Hands stay on the block, but widen that left foot. This is where you can stay, or right hand goes a little bit wider, use the block with you, and then you're going to rotate your left arm towards the sky, maybe behind the head again. Or final option, if you choose to take it, is to bend up this back knee. So try not to dump too much towards the ground. Use this sort of lifting of the pelvis to catch that back foot, and then right ear towards right shoulder. Open up through the side of the neck. Oh, hello. Delicious. Left side of my neck is getting a big stretch too. I've got the top of the foot on the outside of edge of the foot so that I get an opening through my shoulder. But if you feel like you want to round in, get more into your quad, you can do that. Let go of that foot as gently as you can. Spin so that we come back into a Z stance. So just move your pillow out the way. Left heel in towards your left butt cheek. Right shin is forward. I'm going to bring my pillow behind me. This pillow is going to act as like a little sort of resting point for my elbows. So I'm going to rock my elbows down onto it, scoop my tailbone underneath me so that I get this big stretch. So it's the same leg that we just opened up in that lizard position. And then you can let your head drop back if that feels appropriate. If for any reason this doesn't feel right to lean back, just stay in your Z stance and maybe just lean back and forth. You can use that hands on the block or the floor just to sort of see how this knee feels. Now, you can always have your right foot on the ground. If you're familiar with half hero, you can use that right foot as a bit more purchase. And then there's the option for some of you to lean back, maybe bring your upper back onto the pillow. You might even grab the back of your skull and lie all the way back. So whatever option feels best for you, we're going to hang out here again for a little bit. I do quite like, so you might have your knee down. I like my foot on the floor, and then I also like to lift my bum a little bit and really get into the front of that quad there. So as you scoop your bum underneath, like you're going into a little mini bridge, you'll feel the front of your left knee and like this inner quad line really intensely. Now, I am quite an open person. I have an anatomical structure to be able to do that, and I've danced for years and done yoga for years. This might look really extreme to some of you. Please do not be stressed if this is where you're at, okay? The success of this posture is not about how far back you go. It's about honoring where your body's at and just being okay with that. So we'll just stay here for maybe 2 more breaths. Wherever you're at, however you're feeling. One more inhale. Big deep breath out. Start to bring yourself back up so that you can straighten this left leg. So just take your time and then just give it a wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Both legs can have a wiggle. You can windshield wiper your knees. Sit yourself on your block or your bolster so that both of your feet are on the floor and you're in this little squat position. I'm going to bring my elbows inside of my knees. Both of my feet are planted on the floor, maybe in a prayer-like position. You can even use another block if you would like and bring your elbows onto that. And we're just going to sit in a squat. So have something underneath your bum unless you're really comfortable sitting in a deep squat with both of your heels on the ground. Option 1, stay here. Option 2 is bring your left fingertips to the floor inside. So upper arm bone to inner left thigh and then right arm reaches the ceiling. You might even swim your fingertips forward and get that big side body stretch. Then switch sides. So right fingertips inside or in front of right foot. Upper arm bone connects to knee. And then reach arm up and overhead. Oh, big stretch. One more time each side. So left fingertips down, right arm reaches. You can look to the ceiling or just let the head relax. And then right hand down, left arm reaches. Big stretch. Really nice. Bring your fingertips back down. Walk your hands back up. Come into a forward fold. So I'm just going to face the camera. Let your head and shoulders just droop down. Shimmy, shake a little bit side to side. Let the back of the hamstrings open up. Close off that front line. Maybe bend your knees more. Again, interlace your hands around your head or your elbows. Push down through your feet. Lift yourself all the way up to standing. Arms reach up. Hook your thumbs. Let your back bend. Right arm crosses under left and round in. Arms reach up overhead. Stretch long. Soften through the knees. Left arm underneath right. Round in. Keep rounding over the legs. Come into your forward fold. Fingertips to the floor, halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Make your way onto your hands and knees again so that we can come back into that tabletop position with your pillow underneath your chest. Block can be there for your head to land on. So left hand stays where it is, right arm reaches. And then we'll thread the needle. So right arm underneath your left, bring your right ear to the ground. Both hands can interlace, and you're getting this feeling of shimmying your way over to the right hand side. Tuck your chin in more towards your collarbones, and then lean into that right shoulder and push with your left hand. Get this big rotation through that part where your T-spine, your thoracic junction meets your lumbar, so just in the middle of your back there. You get this big opening there. Oh, I like to sort of scoop my belly, not suck my belly, but like almost draw my navel towards my back. And that gives me a little bit more intensity through the stretch. Left hand to floor, unravel yourself. Both hands to the floor. Right foot this time will step forward into your lunge. So hands on the block inside of this right foot. This foot can be nice and wide. It does not need to be like directly under the knee, and we'll do these little rock and rolls a couple of times. So just dip the hips back to heel and then pull them forward again. Just use that bolster as an indicator of not going too far, because we don't want to sort of feel everything in our lower back. So just be really mindful of that. When you feel like you're quite comfortable here, maybe stay here, or maybe rotate your right arm to ceiling or back behind you. This left hand can always go wider, so you've got more space for this left shoulder. And then last option is to grab a hold of that left foot with your right hand. Again, I've hooked the outside of my foot, so my shoulder is open, my chest is open, but if you would like to, you can round forward and get into that quad. Okay. And then just take your time, release that leg. We'll rock everything back so that we can sit in our Z stance. So you will be sitting with your left shin forward, right heel in. Bring your block or your bolster behind you, your pillow behind you. Set yourself up so that you can start to lean back and get that sensation again of scooping your tailbone under. It's like you're trying to like get all the flesh from your bum and like scoop it underneath you, and you'll continue to feel this big opening through all the way from your hip flexor down towards your knee. Just be very careful of anything going on in knees that is serious. Just maybe don't lean back as far. You've got the option to go all the way back if you would like, or just hang out here. Maybe use that left foot as a little bit more purchase, and then maybe hover the hips off of the ground and get that sort of tailbone tucking, and then you can place it back down. You've got the option of doing like little salsa dips as well. I didn't say that on the other side, but they can be quite nice if you've got loads of availability in this right thigh. It has been a very interesting few weeks to really connect with yourself, and whether you've done every class every week or you kind of have done them intermittently, and this actually ended ages ago and you're doing them a few weeks later, just know that the time that you take to do this is all that matters. It's not when you do it, it's not how you do it, where you do it, what the setting's like. It's literally just the fact that you sat down and took the time to do something just for you. So just remember that. Okay, I'm going to get you to come back up. Take your time to just bring this right foot back down. Maybe there's this windshield wiping side to side again. We're going to come down onto our backs. I want to use my bolster just because I really like lying over it. So maybe you grab a block. I'm going to use a block for my head, which you could use, again, a pillow. So rib cage is going to land onto the bolster, but you could use a block or a pillow. Hands behind the back of the skull. So imagine you're about to lie on your hammock again, feet planted nice and solidly. Then head drops down onto the block. You can lower the block or lift it up higher. Hands can stay behind the head just to begin with. And Feel this sort of expanding, opening sensation through the front of the chest. You can let the elbows drop. You can get that feeling again of squeezing the shoulder blades together, and the head pushes into the hands. I like to just rest my head. Second option is to reach your arms up overhead, get that hooked thumb sensation again. So hook your thumbs, reach your shoulders all the way along your ears, almost like you're trying to make loads of space for your rib cage, and then maybe let your legs go long and point your toes and image. Imagine you're being pulled from hands to feet. So remember when you were a kid and someone would take your hands and someone would take your legs and they'd swing you. And you'd be like suspended in air, kind of that sort of feeling, or it's like a kind of traction bed, but that, yeah, not such a good image. Okay, rebend your knees, bring everything back in, hands to back of skull, round yourself all the way back up, curl into a little ball, come up onto one forearm, remove your bolster, remove your block. Make some space around you actually, because we'll use our arms and legs. So come all the way down onto your back. Legs go long again, but hook your left ankle over your right. Arms reach up overhead, grab onto your left wrist with your right hand. Legs are going to go over to the left, no, to your right even. And then arms and legs are going to go over to your right as well. So you're going to come into this sort of what is called Bananasana. That's what it always was called in studios. So you're in a big crescent moon shape, and then you can pull with your right hand more on that left arm and come into that big twist, push that left foot into your right ankle. I actually think maybe your right ankle should be on top. It really doesn't matter, just play around with it. I just want you to get that big opening through your left side. Then shimmy shake yourself back into center so that your right ankle maybe goes on top. Grab onto your, I'm going to have to put my legs on that bolster. Grab onto your right wrist and then C-curve your spine over to the left. So just play around with what feels best with what leg. Oh yeah, I think left ankle on top going to left is better. And then grab onto your right wrist and side bend. But it's all experimentation. You know, you can't, there's no rules when it comes to yoga postures. Half of us are just making it up as we go along. We get massively inspired by other people and other styles of movement. It's like everything, no thought is original. So if something I say doesn't fit or it doesn't sound right or the cue doesn't make sense, know that there will be an option for you. Start to bring yourself back into center. Pull your knees into your chest. Give your arms a big wrap around your shins and then curl your head in towards your knees and round into a little ball. Almost sort of tense your whole body up. Then let your arms relax, your legs relax, come into your variation of your Shavasana, your relaxation posture. So for your relaxation, I want you to get really cozy. So maybe put on an extra layer. I'm going to pop this on. Close down your eyes, wiggle yourself around as much as you need to. Take a second to really deeply connect with yourself. So if that means a little bit of just self-soothing with your hands on your body wherever feels like it needs it. Belly is soft. Pelvic floor is soft. And I encourage you to stay on the ground, but if you do need to sit up or maybe even just find somewhere more comfortable, you might even put your legs up the wall or you might come into a side lying posture. That's absolutely fine. But there's a few moments here where we just are with ourselves and less concerned about the actual physical position of the body and more about how you are feeling deeply and energetically within yourself. How you can most give yourself this space, regardless of what maybe is going on around you. And whether you've done these classes in a chronological order, so you started on week 1, you did week 2, you did week 3, and now you're at week 4, or whether you've just dipped into this class, I want you to remind yourself why you're here. Take a second to acknowledge the fact that you chose to spend money, time, energy on this practice. And for all of those things, you should be immensely proud of yourself. You don't need me to be proud of you. You don't need anyone else to be proud of you. I'm also so deeply honored to be a part of it, to bear witness to it, and to be able to help facilitate that time that you have taken for yourself. Knowing that it wasn't necessarily these classes that were what you needed. It was the ability to recognize your own needs. So I hope that these simple moves, these simple classes, this little window of time for yourself has reminded you of your incredible capabilities, your strength, and so I will leave you to just soak up everything that your body has taken in, all of the information, all of the stimulus from the last roughly hour of movement and just being present. Think back to how you felt, not even just at the start of this class, but the start of your week, the start of your day, and acknowledge what has happened with no significant attachment. And just be proud that you are now here, whether this is the start of your day or the end of your day. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your patience, and your willingness and trust in me to allow me to facilitate this class, this series. I really hope that you've enjoyed it, and I would love to hear how you've got on whenever you choose to share, however you choose to share. But until we meet again, have the most wonderful day. Thank you so much.